Welcome back to another episode of Weebs and Weights, the podcast, Interviews Edition. We have Dan Hevia from PowerSpike.tv. He's the Director of Accounts and Partnerships and also a collector of hats. He wanted to make sure that everyone knew that one. I met Dan at PAX East last year, and he was the MC. Dan, don't hurt me. He was leading a panel about brands and influencers. But I stayed out for like an hour waiting just to shake this man's hand, give him my card, and kind of talk to him. I reached out, asked him to be on the podcast, and he didn't even blink an eye at it, and he wanted in. The first part of the whole thing, I forgot to almost record because we were just talking and catching up. It kind of just flowed into its own little conversation. If you guys do like this conversation style, please let us know, and we'll just try to make sure that it flows that way normally. A little bit about Dan before we get right into it, okay? Dan has been in the gaming industry for eons. He was doing freelanced writing on articles on games. He was doing live interviews for PAX and Comic Cons, all those kinds of things. Then he ended up going up into 505 Games and he worked with them. And if you don't know who they are, they've made a lot of really good games and then some. And then from there, he went on to PowerSpike, and now the man's a legend. So I really hope you guys enjoyed. We'd gotten together and recorded this right before the Olympia, so you'll hear some of that talk, even though it already happened. And unfortunately, we were both very let down by the results. But at the same time, it was Phil's fault. I hope he doesn't hear this. Make sure you check out Dan on Twitter, on Instagram, on any other socials that he does have. They're going to be down below if you're on YouTube. And if you're on the podcast, we'll make sure we'll have them in the description as well. Have a very, very, very happy holidays and a Merry Christmas to all of those who do celebrate. All right, we're going to take a break next week, and we're going to give everybody the time to just kind of relax, see family, hang out for a little bit, and we'll be back in the new year. Happy New Year's. See you guys in 2021.
What's up, Nick?
Dan, how we doing, man?
Good. How's it going, man?
Good. How you doing?
Hanging in there.
Good.
We got a bunch of snow, so.
Yeah, I'm staring at it as we speak, too. We're at like, I don't know, 12 now, something like that. We're at a foot already.
Yeah, I knew once I didn't hear the shovels like hitting the ground this morning that my neighbors were like, fuck it. And I was like, same.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not dealing with it.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm like the responsible son, which my father never thought was going to fucking happen. Trust me.
Yep.
Like when I was in high school, he was like, do you do drugs? I'm like, no. I was like, I'm just bored. Like, relax.
That's where video games came in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that had a lot to do with it. But the crazy thing was that we were not necessarily financially stable enough. Uh-huh. So like I was at friends' houses, like fucking with Tony Hawk on their PlayStation.
Oh yeah, baby. Yeah.
And it wasn't until like, I mean, getting out of high school, getting your own job and stuff that I was turned around, and it was like, okay, well, I got a PlayStation 2 for my firehouse. And then we would have competitions with SSX Tricky at the firehouse. And it would be like, we'd like call each other and be like, I have a new record on Garibaldi. Go fuck yourself. Yeah, and like, then like awesome. The other guy comes running to the firehouse to see like the high score and like, damn it. So then they're stuck there doing stuff and you're like, Jesus Christ. That's and it's awesome. Just like a back and forth. The older members of the firehouse got really tired of it.
I'm sure.
Like,
yeah.
They're like, oh, you young guys, you're just playing video games. And I was like, we also had the fastest response time out of anybody in this town because we're always here.
Yeah.
And we're always on the nozzle and we knock down fires. So go fuck yourself.
Like, and your brain staying stimulated, so you guys are ready to react anyways, like you're ready to go,
like it never ends.
I mean, we can get into this a little bit too, but like when I was younger, like Halo came out, right? And online got on. And I was like, this is the game. This is it, right? So like I was playing online. Got really good at it. And they were doing like local tournaments at fucking Newberry Comics, right? So me and my brother would have to like bring our controller and go there and play. And we were rolling shit. And I looked at my dad. I'm like, I can do this professionally. He's like, this doesn't exist professionally. And now here we are. And I'm sitting here like trying to stream and like coach at the same time. It's fucking you know?
It's wild because I mean when Halo came out, I think we always had problems with the disk drives on the PS2. Mm-hmm. And I think we had gotten like 3 of them at the firehouse. And after the last one busted, I kind of like gave up on games and I was like, I'm going to be a cop. I'm going to be a cop or I'm going to be a firefighter. And I was an EMT at the time. And I was like, I don't have time to even play games or anything like that. It was like, I'm going to train and I'm going to get one of these jobs. And I was working like 14-hour shifts at a restaurant. So it was like, there was no time for anything.
Right, right.
And I got onto the FDNY EMS. And as I was going through the physical for the EMS, I went to the doctor. Like they do the physical and the medical like the same day. And they put for EMS, it's even worse for fire, but for EMS, they'll put like I think it's like a 20 or 30 pound weight vest on you, and they'll put you on a stair climber, and you have to walk on that stair climber. And I think it's like 2.5 minutes, but no holding on. You could tap the rails with your body, but you're walking no hands. And I got off that thing and finished it, and my legs were like fish. Like they were just dead. And they were like, don't sit down. I was like, I'm going to fall down. They were like, you're going to cramp. I'm like, I'm going to fall down. Like I can either sit or I could crack my head open because I fell. And got through that, got through the other parts. Then I go to the doctor. And he's like, okay, so he's going through everything. He's like, this is fine, this is fine. He goes, all right, so you're disqualified from fire. And I was like, time out. What are you talking about? Because the goal was never to stay on EMS. EMS was the easy way in to transfer to fire. Because it was, and that's what people would generally do to hop the list. And I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, you have asthma. And I was like, so?
Yeah.
I'm like, it doesn't, what does that have to do? And they were like, smoke. I was like, you put an oxygen mask on. Like, I have a mask on. Like, that doesn't make sense. They're like, no. And I was like, okay, well, now I don't want this fucking job. Like, now we're done here. And I did the academy for a couple of weeks, and I was like, this is just stupid. Because I was actually losing money by doing that. Like, I was making more money at the restaurant. I was wasting a lot more time.
The jobs in the United States are crazy because, like, strength and conditioning, dude, right? Like, I was an intern for 6 years, didn't get paid a cent, and I was doing like overnight strength and conditioning. I was doing like overnight construction for like my dad, at doing like floors for like malls and hospitals and like redoing that shit, right? And then I get a break finally a year and a half ago. And they were like, oh, your job's going to be like $30,000 a year. You're going to have 2 teams and you're going to assist everybody. It's like, perfect. Awesome. Right. I get out there. They dock it 10 grand. They make me a professional intern and they took away all my teams. And I was just a glorified intern. Geez. And I was just like, just treated like ass. Just like they were just like putting me to the ground. You're not doing enough. Do this better. And I was like cleaning 4 times a day, assisting every team. Then 2 of the coaches leave. I get all the teams and all the teams start getting better. No bump, nothing. And then they get rid of me at the end of the year saying that like I did a good job by the end, but I didn't live up to expectations the whole time. Like this is like, it's crazy, man. And like now I'm like,
that's
all right.
where you go with this, especially when you're in that age range from like you get out of high school and then you're going through like basically through your 20s, you're just constantly eating shit. Like, you know, you'll have the conversations with people that, you know, they had that career path from the minute, you know, like, I'm going to go be a lawyer. I'm going to go do this. That it's never something that's really easy. And especially like I graduated high school and I went to a community college right away because I was like, I didn't even want to apply anywhere because I just didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. And I went for marketing. And after like 2 weeks, I went to my dad. I was like, let's get our money back because this is not something that I'm going to do. Right. Like I can't do this right now.
Right.
And I immediately went to pump gas. And I worked at a shop in my town. And dude, to be fair, they were paying me $15 an hour off the books. Like it was a good gas station.
Yeah, no, seriously, yeah.
And then I tried to dress it up. People would be like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm a petroleum transfer technician. So like I tried to like dress up as much as possible, especially when you saw other people that you graduated with. They're like, yes, no, you know, I'm just on break at Yale. And I'm like, oh, well, look at what I'm doing. I'm
nice, like, I applied to Yale and they just literally they tried to charge me for applying more than I should have. Like,
I actually applied to Harvard. I applied to Harvard. The reason that I did that was because I wanted the rejection letter.
Nice. Okay.
I wanted my father to see a letter come from Harvard to my house addressed to me.
Regardless of what it
So,
was.
regardless, only
Yeah.
college I applied to. So one day this letter shows up, and my father's like, "Hell is this?" I was like, "It's here." And
Let's
like
do it.
I knew it, and my father certainly knew.
Yeah.
Like, this is backwards, but I got the rejection letter, and he was very, very pissed at me. In fact, like 5 years ago, he was cleaning out his office, and he handed me a file like this thick with like progress reports from high school, and he was like, "I kept these, you fuck," and just
Dude,
like,
what is up with parents doing that? Because I remember sitting down and like I wasn't doing well in school, and my grandmother sat me down and was like, "Here are your father's report cards," and like opening them up, and they were like C's and D's, and I'm like, "What are you trying to prove to me?" Because I get B's and C's, and you're telling me I'm not doing well enough. So you know,
like, well, you're doing better than your father.
hey, I guess, yeah, I guess think it was supposed to be like some kind of reverse psychology. I don't know.
I was legit just cleaning out my basement because we got our whole basement done, and I found like my second grade report card from, and like my daughter is in second grade right
Yeah,
now. So like I come up to her, I'm like, "You see this shit? This is success." Like,
this is your
like, I'm like,
father.
"Get back up to your remote school during
Yeah.
a pandemic. Put in the work, kid." Like,
Dude, crazy.
like,
Listen, man, if we grew up in this time period, we would have been fine. This is what we lived for. Was like being able to
you
be
know
home
what's
and
wild is that I feel like if I grew up in this time period, I would have so many issues with ADD. Like, I can't, like, screens and all this different stuff.
yeah.
Part of me is really happy. Like, I was born in '82. So I was born when, there were still kind of rotary phones. The cable box was you hit the big wooden button, and like,
Hmm.
there was different things like, and growing up in the '90s, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day where I said, if you took me and you just like dropped me into like 1998 and you were like, "You got to live here forever," I'd be like, "Dope. I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, give me my beeper back." There's like one person with like a cell phone,
Yeah.
and I'll still like call people and be like, "Call me back at the payphone," and hang up real quick. And like, I kind of really miss the time where we weren't tethered.
Yeah.
Like, and by all means, that technology has given me a career.
Yeah.
Like, if you told me when I was graduating high school, yeah, so 20 years from now, what you're going to be doing is people are going to be playing video games online, and you're going to be getting them sponsorships, and you're going to be helping. That's how you're going to make money. I'd be like, "Fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah. What's online? Like,
I'd be like,
like,
"If you're smoking weed, invite me, but don't talk weird shit to me after."
yeah.
Like, it just, none of it makes sense. And like, even the avenue that I took to get here is so born out of the technology, where it was, I think I joined Twitter like 12 years ago, maybe around there. And it was, I think that we were in the phase of, I think Modern Warfare 2 had just dropped.
Hmm.
But in my whole pathway was, um, I didn't play games for a while. And then I was in a Best Buy, and my brother-in-law happened to call me, and he was like, "Have you heard of Gears of War?" And I was like, "I have no idea what
Oh
you're talking
yeah, baby.
about." And he was like, "The Xbox 360." And I was like, "Dude, I haven't played since the PS2. Like, I don't have money at all. Like, that's not a thing that I'm going to do." And he was like, "You should check it out because it'd be really cool." So I happened to be in Best Buy
Yeah.
when this happens. And so like I turned to somebody at Best Buy. I was like, "Do you have an Xbox 360?" Like, I sounded so like a grandfather. I was like, "Do you have an Xbox 360 game console?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's right over there." I was like, "Do you have a Best Buy credit card I can apply for?" And I'm pretty sure I'm still paying for that 360 today. And I got it, and I played Gears, fell in love with Gears. First time that I had played online with people
Yeah.
also. So just changed the whole trajectory of everything. And then the original Modern Warfare came out, and I, to this day, if I play the last chapter of the original Modern Warfare, when you get onto the bridge and all that happens, I still get goosebumps. And that was, Gears was to me like, I'm back playing games.
Hmm.
Modern Warfare was, I need to work doing this.
Hmm.
And I think during that time I had went to do a police department physical, and I tore my abs during the physical. And I was like, you know what? Somebody's telling me not to be a cop. I'm getting
Yeah.
signs here.
Some powers, yeah.
Um, and it was very much similar to my father, where my father was, we're Cuban. He grew up in Miami, and then he grew up in New York. He went back to Miami, and he got a job, not a job, he got a degree from Miami Dade in criminology.
Mhm.
And he was going to go back to New York and be a cop. And then he got drafted, or as he'll say it, he got kidnapped. So he got drafted. He served 2 years during Vietnam. I think he served in Germany.
Okay.
And when he came back, he was like, all right, let me go back and be a cop now. He came back. It was the New York City fiscal crisis. They were laying off cops. So he was like, all right, well, there's two things guaranteed. There's death and taxes. They're not hiring assassins. So he went back to Manhattan College and he became a CPA.
Okay.
So he knew, he was like, all right, well, something's telling me I'm not going to be a cop. And then I got that same thing at the time where it was like, something's telling me this cop thing is not going to work out.
Mhm.
And then, now looking at it, I'm like, thank God, because I wouldn't want to be a cop now. Like,
Yeah.
it just,
It's crazy.
I would retire. Like, I have friends that are cops. One of them just hit 20 years. The minute he hit 20 years, he was like, I'm out. See ya.
Yeah,
I'm done.
I have a couple of uncles that are like, one's actually a cop at Harvard. He's a detective at Harvard now. And I have a bunch of like family that's like in the FBI and like just like police force, stuff like that. And like they were saying like if I didn't get into it when I did, he's like, I would never have touched this again. Because like some of the stuff they go through. I don't know if you've listened to the episode with Kevin Foley, the last interview we had. He's a mental health specialist. But he went through like he was in the military, came back, was a police officer, got out of that, opened up his own gyms, did his own nutritional companies, like went from that to where he is now as a mental health specialist. And now he's trying to create like similar to what we're trying to do with Weebs and Weights, where it's like this holistic approach to just like health and being able to be a gamer, do things healthier, take care of yourself, love streaming, love anime, whatever it is, but it's crazy. Like he was saying, he's like the things that like you see as a police officer and as a firefighter and as coming back from the military, and the lack of like support for it is just nutty. So like
1,000%.
Yeah. So
and the salaries are never enough.
Never.
Like and people focus on the retirement and how much you're making in retirement, and those last 2 years, how they bump up their pay as much as possible but you have to remember, you're going through 20 years to get to a point where you're making 110K, and then you're taking home a pension that's like 60K.
Yeah.
Like you're not like walking away a millionaire with this.
Yeah.
MTA, like you see people with the MTA, it's like they made $400,000, and it's like, yeah, because they game the system, but like you have to get to a certain point. When I was looking to become a cop, that was when Bloomberg was cutting. I think the starting salary for the NYPD was, I think they had just pushed it down to 36,000, and they said you have to have a bachelor's, or no, you have to have 60 credits. And I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, why would you go get an associate's degree and then be like, all right, man, I'm going to put that to work. 36K getting shot at. Like, when I was in EMT, I was making $13 an hour. And I would go into the projects in the Bronx, and people would drop like an air conditioner out the window and yell down and be like, fucking pig. And I'm like, I have a stretcher.
Yeah.
Does it look like I'm a cop? Like, come on. Like, come on, help me out here.
Yeah, man.
So it's just wild.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. I don't know. And we just had this conversation with the strength and conditioning stuff. Like, that's not the only field, and it's just, there's never going to be, it feels like it's never going to get better, but hopefully it will.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why carving your own path is so huge. Because that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that the freedom that you have, like doing this podcast and doing what you do, you're going to control that. You're going to control where it goes and how it ends up. And that's what we get with a lot of influencers, where there is nobody that's going to gatekeep you from it, because it's your responsibility to find your audience.
Right.
People think it's really, really easy. It's not. I mean, with what we do now when we're at Power Spike, we have there's 35,000 streamers that are on the platform.
Yeah.
So you have 34,999 people that are competing just on our platform
Mhm.
to try and get sponsorships. So when you look at it, you're like, you have to put in the work. You have to like understand a lot of things are not going to go your way. And if you spend more time bitching about the things that fall through, if you play a constant game of why did that person get it, you're never going to move forward.
Right.
Like you're going to be just in a constant state of regret because you will always find a reason or a person that's getting an opportunity that you want.
Right.
And it's wild how people kind of get into this like mentality of like this should have happened to me, or
Yeah.
this needed to be done for me. And there's the freedom to do that is also the freedom to spend a lot of time doing a lot of menial annoying stuff and
Mhm.
paying your own way to a lot of things. You know, when I met you at PAX East, I'm positive that you probably paid for your own ticket.
Oh,
You
100%.
paid for the Uber there, you paid for the parking, you paid for all that different stuff. I did the same thing. You know, I started doing stuff in games, like I would say professionally. It was 2011. It was right before Modern Warfare 3 came out. I had been writing a little bit before that.
Yep.
But the first event that I got to cover was Call of Duty XP 2011.
God damn.
And I paid to fly out to Los Angeles.
Mhm.
I paid for the hotel. I paid for everything. The only thing that I got was access. And it was that the access is almost what you need more than anything else.
Right.
And you're gonna wind up paying for that a lot of times.
Yeah.
Sorry, my
No, you're
throat is
good.
a mess.
No, you're good.
And that's one of the wild things. Like that event was, I was almost spoiled in a way because I was like, this is what gaming events are. Because it was the first time that I had come across esports.
Okay.
I think it was either 100,000 or $1 million competition there, multiplayer, you know, whatever it was. But they set up a burger town. A live burger town was where you went to eat. They set up, I think they set up Rust as a paintball field.
Nice, dude.
They set up, they had, it was sponsored by Jeep, and it was a Jeep Wrangler experience where you got into a Wrangler, and somebody from the United States military was actually driving the Wrangler. And the one rule that they had with us beforehand was, if you're going to film, if there's an extraction, you need to turn off the camera. And I was like, that's weird that
Yeah.
you just told me that there might be an extraction. So you go along this like dirt road, and then all of a sudden you're in the favelas from Modern Warfare 2.
That's
And
so
it's
cool.
they have actors there, they have things blowing up. You go into like a ditch where the water is up above the wheels of the Wrangler, so they want to show off the Wrangler.
Yeah.
And then you get around the corner to a building, and two people come out, and that's your extraction. And you go through the building, and they literally did like a search and destroy with these people. You're going through a tactical thing. And sure as shit, one of the people that I was with did not stop filming, but they checked our cameras after. And they made him delete his footage because the people that extracted us were actual Navy SEALs.
Oh,
And they
okay.
could not be on video.
Gotcha. Okay. That's so cool though.
Yeah. And then night one was closed with Dropkick Murphys concert.
Nice.
Night two, mind you, there was a media lounge, which was wild because I'd never heard of this in my life.
Yeah.
Like they came with like a shot glass of milk and a little cookie at night. Like it was that catered to. They had like a black carpet where like NBA players were coming through and
That's awesome.
The second night they go, everybody clear out, Kanye's here. And the second night was a Kanye West show.
Oh damn.
And it was this is how well they took care of the media. This is in an airplane hangar, so it's stage and just a sea of people.
Yeah.
They set up a riser with leather couches and an open bar for the media so that they could be above the crowd to see the show easily and have a nice time. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is what we do. Like, I'm like,
it hooked you. That was it.
ever.
Yeah.
I never saw an event like that ever again.
But that's like that's the glory of like where esports and games are going. Like they put that much effort, and that was, did you say 2011, into an event where it was still in its infancy. I mean, it still kind of is if you think about it,
And
right?
they plan these things out to a T.
Yeah,
and I mean, Activision's probably the best at planning things out in terms of making you feel special.
Yeah.
And coming up with like relevant products that speak to the games that they're pushing and speak to the experiences that they're putting together. Like that Jeep Wrangler experience was sick, but then fast forward, it's 2020. I got a box in the mail yesterday, a Call of Duty Black Ops box, which has like a Moscow Mule, whiskey stones that are all branded with Black Ops,
Yo,
a
okay.
Verdansk sweater, and like, you know, like they know what they're doing. There was actually a Call of Duty Black Ops Rubik's Cube in there, and I was like, I'm never going to mess with this thing because I will never be able to put it back together. But like, you know, like they come up with different stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But mind you, to get there, I spent around $2,000. And I spent a lot of money all the way up through 2015 to get there.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, I knew that I didn't want to do the writing, interviewing thing.
Okay.
But I wanted to move into the industry. So one of the biggest things there was building up those contacts so that I could know people, so that when a job came up, I could be like, hey, could you recommend me for this?
Mm-hmm.
Or I would just see it because it popped up across my feed. And this is where Twitter comes into play. Getting to that event in 2011, Dan Amrich, who now works for Ubisoft on Rocksmith, he was one of Swords at Activision. He was their big community guy. Somewhere in 2010, I got Mortal Kombat, and I got a skin for Mortal Kombat. It was a code. Just so happened that Dan was looking for that skin. So I messaged him on Twitter, and I was like, hey, I have it here. So he followed me. We DM'd each other. I gave him the code. Fast forward to Call of Duty XP getting announced. I'm going, wait, I know the Activision guy. I gave him the Mortal Kombat thing. So I hit him up and I was like, hey, how do I go to this? He goes, you hit up your PR contact. My legitimate response was, what is that? I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea. So you're getting information. He put me in touch with people that got me to that event who I talk to this day, that I'm probably the closest with on that side. They got me there. So getting access to that event had me meet more people. Going down the line, I'm going to more events, I'm meeting more people, making more relationships, making more contacts. 2015, somebody retweets somebody from 505 Games saying, I'm looking for a community manager. So the person that retweeted it, I messaged him, I go, do you know this person? They're like, yeah. I said, can you introduce me? I get my message, my resume out to him. Before he interviewed me, he saw who was following me on Twitter, and he reached out to them to ask them about me. So you're being vetted almost.
Yeah.
And thankfully, they had glowing things to say. And I started with 505 working on Payday. And you probably couldn't find a better game for me because it was just like shooty guns.
Yeah.
I initially was supposed to be working on Adrift, which was space VR, but they hired two people basically at the same time. And since they hired me first, they gave me the option.
Okay.
And I was like, Payday. I was like, guns, clown mask. Fuck yeah.
Done. Yeah.
Like I was like NASA can show it. So went through that, and eventually, the guy that hired me, who's a really good friend of mine, he left to go work on Destiny at Activision. And he was just working on Call of Duty up until last week. He works for Improbable now. But I built my resume off of that, and then I was lucky enough because a lot of the game industry did not have remote jobs. Coming out of the pandemic, I'm sure there'll be a bunch.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
at the time, working for a company in California while still living in New York was impossible.
Right.
You were trying to get on at Rockstar Games because that's like the only New York City place, or I think Avalanche is there also. But like, there's not a lot in New York.
Right.
So got experience there, was able to build that up, and then started after he left. I started working on influencers because he was gone and somebody
Yeah.
needed to do it. And after they had kind of a change of the guard at 505, and they didn't want remote people anymore, I was like, all right, well, they don't need me anymore. So now what am I going to do? And it was hard because even with experience, finding those remote positions
Yeah.
or doing something relevant when you're consulting, that makes you a lot of money is hard.
Hmm.
It's not easy at all. And I had gone from starting this journey as a person that was engaged to now having 2 kids, and you're like, I gotta figure something out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's when I was on Hitmarker, which is fantastic. If you're looking for game jobs, like legitimately, Hitmarker probably has the most game jobs locked down, like
Okay.
that you can find. It's like what are those job sites? Not Monster, Indeed, or whatever it is, but they're specifically focused on gaming.
Okay. Okay.
And they're fantastic. And I found PowerSpike. And the funny thing is that when you look at a lot of the esports jobs, or these influencer jobs, you'll see like a director of marketing, and I felt that I was at that level. You know what I mean? I knew
Right.
that I could do it. You click open these jobs, and it's like you never heard of the company before, but you're like, all right, so they want this many years, this requirement, this that, and then they're like at the bottom, they're like, right now, this is an unpaid part-time position with room to grow as the company grows. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't put director of marketing, you can't put vice president of shit if
Yeah.
you're saying it's unpaid. Like, and with PowerSpike, I looked and they didn't say that, but they also didn't say a salary range. So I was
Hmm.
like, I was like, you know what? Send the resume, see what happens. And they reached out to me, and my boss, AJ, he looked at my LinkedIn, and then I was like, okay, so this is the guy, and I was like, I looked at his LinkedIn, and it said Syracuse University class of 2018, and I was like, fuck. I was like, what am I, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my younger brother was Syracuse University class of 2018, so I called him. I'm like, do you know this kid? And my brother was like, do you know how many people go to Syracuse University? And I was like, not at all. Like, I have no idea. And he was like, he's in my entrepreneur group, and I was, but I don't know. And I was like, all right, I'll take the shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Entrepreneur group, good enough for me.
Yeah.
Um, and had an interview with them. They were awesome. They were going to TechStars, which is a startup accelerator, fantastic one. Um, and initially, um, they said, we want to bring you on. We're going down to TechStars was in Atlanta, and they were like, we just need you to be in Atlanta from June through August. I got 2 kids.
Yeah.
I was like, and I turned them down. I was like, listen, I really appreciate it, but I can't leave my family for 3 months. Like, it's just
Yeah.
not going to be feasible. Um, and then they came back 2 weeks later, and they were like, we really like you. Could you come down for 2 weeks? And I was like, that I can do.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a problem
That's
at all.
normal. That's like a
Yeah.
normal. Yeah.
So it kind of led here. And when I started, I was a campaign manager. And now I'm director of accounts and partnerships. And we've gone from a company where I was, I think, one of 5 people when I started,
Okay.
to now we're a team of 16, and we're
Nice. Okay.
growing rapidly. And we went from clients that were very small to now we've been working with, we just finished something awesome with Fireball Whiskey.
Nice. Hell yeah. Okay.
It was lots of fun. I don't know if you follow 100 Thieves or the Mob,
Hmm.
but the Mob had very, very large inflatable fireball bottles in their place, and like all this different stuff. So it's been a wild kind of ride.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things is seeing people start and grind to come up. And I hate the word grind because it sounds sad.
Yeah,
It's like it's like but people building themselves up, I feel very much a kinship with it
mhm.
because I know that when I started writing, I started a YouTube channel. My interviews are still on YouTube that I
I was
did.
watching some earlier, by the way. I just want to let
Dude,
you know that.
terrible, terrible.
They weren't that bad.
Like we, I was so psyched to get a flag for the microphone with our
Mm.
company logo. But I didn't even have money to do that.
Yeah.
And like the interviews were so basic that I was very much like, I'm here to market your product. Let's talk. Like it
Well,
was.
but they were like, I was watching one with what was the one I just saw? 1886.
The order
The Order.
with Jay.
Yeah, I was watching that, and
Yes.
that was like, I mean, was that one of your earlier ones? Or was that one of your later ones? I didn't see what the date was.
It was pretty much right in the middle. Like
Okay.
everything happened with that over the course of a year. And Jay is awesome. He is, I think he's in Austin now. I forgot the company that he's working for, but like it's wild because a lot of the people that I interviewed, like if you saw the Disney one with Johnny V,
Huh?
Johnny is a good friend and just one of the best, most genuine people in the world. And he's at Nintendo.
Nice. Okay.
So like, it's funny because you can sit there sometimes and say, oh, this like I have this person that's a friend, this person that's an acquaintance, and this that, and they switch jobs, and all of a sudden you're like, I have a connect at that company now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody at Nintendo, and then Disney shut down Disney Infinity, and he went to Nintendo, and I was like, I know somebody at Nintendo.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the kind of things where if you have the opportunity to go to events or use social media, one, if you're using social media, don't be an asshole. Like there's so many people that like are just there to be like even now they're like, CD Project Red should have done this with the. I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
You don't know the business at all.
The keyboard keyboard warriors, dude. That's what they are.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know if you've played Cyberpunk.
I have. I was actually. It's on the list of things to talk about. So,
have you played it on PC?
That's all I have. Yeah, I've been hard PC for the past like 10 years.
You haven't been one of the unlucky ones.
No.
On it's so stupid to say the old generation of consoles because it's like these new ones just came out.
Yeah.
And I remember when I still have my PlayStation 4, my launch PlayStation 4 works like a gem.
I still have my first 360 and it still works.
Yeah, like
don't know how, but
we're kind of like shitting on these old consoles. Like you can't do anything. I'm like, they're still really good consoles.
Yeah.
Like The Last of Us 2 came out on PlayStation 4. Like chill.
And was gorgeous. Yeah.
I have it on Series X, and I haven't really noticed as many problems. I haven't gotten very deep into it, but I knew that there was going to be bugs.
Yeah.
I knew that there was going to be problems. The quality of Xbox One and PS4 probably pisses a lot of people off. But I think that we probably should have been prepared for it. And when they put out that apology, they basically said like, yeah, we knew that those things were shit. And they basically admitted to like, we held this back. We didn't give reviewers code until morning of, and that code was primarily on PC. It's something where you would do better to have a delay. When they got to, I guess a month and a half ago and they delayed to December 10th, they should have just said we're delaying till April.
Or can
you get really one shot there?
What about like split releases though? I mean, I know it's not fair to everybody, right? Because you want everybody to have the opportunity to play. Yeah. But PC people in new gen, you guys have the ability to play it because we know it runs on it. But you other guys are going to try to figure out a way to scale it back and whatever. Is that even possible?
Honestly, for them, I would have done a reverse Rockstar. Rockstar puts everything on console first, and then you get PC like a year later.
Yeah.
They did it with GTA. They did it with Red Dead.
Red Dead, yep.
They make sure that those things are polished when they come out, and they're still fucked up when they come out.
Oh
There's
yeah.
still issues, but like there's not as many if they had not spread their team thin.
Right.
They should have legitimately said, um, we're going to go to April with PC, and then console, you'll get it in the fall of 21.
Yeah.
That should have probably been their play, and they should have focused on the new generation of consoles. But at the same time, from a business end, I know why you're there. You know, PlayStation 4 has 96 million consoles sold. That's 96 million possible sales that you can have, versus the PS5 just came out, and I'm sure that they have 5 to 10 million consoles sold already. But the difference between that and 96 million is a big number.
Yeah.
So I think that there was always going to be some form of it, and when we get 5 years down the line, there's probably going to be a Switch version, like there was like the Witcher 3 on
100%.
Switch.
There has to be, yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
Switch is coming out with the newer hardware too, right? So like that will be even easier for them to like port
like
it that
the
way.
Switch Pro or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with a lot of these games is certain companies have much better records and much better, I guess, it's easier for them to go and do certain things on certain platforms. A lot of that is PC. I know that when I worked on Payday, the console version, we constantly had people angry about it. The console version was always about a year behind in terms of DLC and content than PC was.
Right.
PC was the main home for things. And it's like, one, as a company, you have to make a decision, like, do we just focus on this one end? Or do we try to do it on the other end? And then as a consumer, you have to do your research too.
Right.
I'm at the point where I know that for Cyberpunk, I'm probably just going to wait till 2021 till I get the next gen patch that's supposed to come. And then I'll really invest time into it, because there's a new Warzone. There's a new map on Warzone.
We'll
like,
get there.
I'm well occupied.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think, I also like, I don't need much at this point. Like, I don't need to be on the new thing all the time. Like probably where I was like 7 years ago when the new consoles were coming out, I was like, I gotta gobble up every new thing.
Yeah.
I gotta be everywhere and do everything. I mean, I had an Xbox One delivered to my house on launch day from Amazon. I was still at the release midnight in Times Square for like the Mcconaughey concert, and like my daughter was 2 weeks old at that point when it was released, and I knew that I didn't have to buy a console. But when I got down there, my wife called me and she was like, my friend needs one for her kid for Christmas, so grab one. And I was like, I'm not getting on the 4 train at 2 a.m. with a big box that says Xbox on it.
No, God,
like, you need to come pick me up.
Yeah.
So of course, like 2 a.m, my wife is driving in Times Square, picking me up with our 2-week-old daughter in the back, and it's like, you go in and she's like sleeping, and you're like, I don't know what we got you into. I'm really sorry.
Remember the word grind that you brought back? That's what that sounds like. And the things you were saying about like paying your own way and all this shit that you had to go through to where you are. Like, this is it,
And now I'm like, if I didn't get a Series X on launch day, I would have been fine.
Yeah.
If I didn't get a PS5 on launch day, I would have been fine. Like, I was fortunate enough that I was able to get in on the pre-orders and get both of those things.
Yep.
But like, it wouldn't have been a deal breaker. I'm good. Like, I'm okay. My son is very much, he's played more of the PS5 than I have.
Yeah.
He's in Astro's Playroom, and he watches YouTube videos, and he saw, was it the engineering family, and I think her name is the assistant, and the assistant was playing Fall Guys, so now we have Fall Guys.
Yep.
And
I still haven't won in Fall Guys, by the way.
We haven't won. I think I got to like the last map at one point, and I'm like,
we're getting defeated by a child's game, Dan. Why?
1000%.
Why?
And I knew, like, as I started playing it, I was like, I'm gonna get addicted to this shit real quick.
Oh yeah, I had to cut it off.
Hyper competitive.
Yeah, I had to cut it off. Yeah, but that's funny.
Now he's looking at Bug Snacks and Sackboy.
Okay. Yeah.
She was playing them on her YouTube video. and he walked by me. He was like, Bug Snacks and Snack Boy. I was like, what about him? He goes, we got to put him on the list, the Santa list. Put him on the list. I was like, all right. I was like, you sound like Chris Jericho. Like, you just made the list. I was like, all right, cool, I guess. So that's more stuff for Christmas. And but like at the same point, like I said, with CDPR, one, it looks shitty on their company. Two, I don't need to play it right now. I know that a lot of people were really hyped to play it day one. It's not going to kill you to wait 6 months, like until they fix stuff.
Yeah.
You can feel pissed off, and you could try to get a refund if you want, but eventually you're going to get a good game. I think the best comparison that I saw, um, Paris Lilly, who's a really good friend of mine, who's, he hosted their opening night thing for CDPR, and he's been very, very invested in how that game plays out. It feels like Fallout New Vegas, which is not a bad thing, but it's not what I expected.
Yeah.
So that it's going to lead to, everybody was like, damn, this delay is going to make sure that they don't get Game of the Year. They're not going to get Game of the Year next year. It's not going to happen. And we're going to see some experiences for the new consoles that are going to definitely take those awards. So it's not a problem.
I think the biggest issue with Cyberpunk was that like a lot of the smaller communities and the smaller streamers and stuff like that, like even me, like I got it and I was like, oh, I'm gonna play it because I mean Cold War Warzone's coming out, I have nothing to play in between, so let me do this, right? It runs gorgeously on my computer. Like the game itself is beautiful, right? I could run it with like I have an RTX 2070 in here, right? And like it's running awesome, right? But it doesn't run with OBS well at all. And so I was like, okay, so it was a slideshow. Literally, I was running a PowerPoint for the stream. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to get to a save point and I'm going to end it, right? So I was like, all right, let me chop that up and make a YouTube video out of it. I was going to try to do like a story of it, like my own story of my character and like keep it going, right? The other day, I tried to record for a little bit more and OBS was still a slideshow. So it's just the game in OBS. It doesn't matter what it was for me. So I don't know if that's just like a setting that I haven't figured out yet or whatever, but I got to put that on the back burner for now because like even recording it locally isn't working for some reason.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's a thing. I think that's why I never really got heavily into streaming was I can't figure any of that shit out.
Yeah.
Like I know that if I invested in it, like an invested time, I could probably figure out what the hell I was doing. But I just don't. I don't have the capability to sit there. Like I just get frustrated and I turn it off.
Yeah.
Like it's the same thing with me in like a Photoshop. Like if I'm not there in 5 minutes, I'm fucked. And like it's like one thing that I found that I really liked and that I used for a little bit when Mixer was still alive, rest in peace Mixer, was Lightstream. And how it was cloud-based and just got everything done basically right from your console. So like you could set up your overlays basically in the cloud and you hit go live on the console and it automatically does it. Yeah. It would put your overlays and everything on. And I think that they just launched something to do it from the Xbox to Twitch. But I'm also like, I'm so bare bones if I stream at all now. Like I've been kind of tossing around the idea of a podcast.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if I ever had to do anything like production wise, like all those videos that you saw on YouTube, my friend Tyler did all the videoing and all the production on it. And he actually created the intro on it too.
Okay.
The intro and all the music, because I have zero patience and zero talent for that stuff. I'm like, I can be a pretty face that talks. I am never gonna figure that shit out otherwise. Yeah, like it's just not my bag. So
that's
I don't
been a big learning curve for me too. And like even time wise, like I want to be able to put out YouTube content. And let's say I want to get to the daily thing, right? Like at this point in my life with student loan debt, all this other garbage, right? Like I don't have the time to be able to like invest every day without it already having a kickback. So now I'm just trying to find that cadence of like, do I do once a week? Am I just going to take my stream and like chop it up into stream highlights? Do I find a college kid from online that I met playing Valorant and like, hey, I'll pay you $10 a video and you just chop one up for me every week and I'll do an intro and an outro. You know what I mean? Like trying to figure that out now.
Fiverr, like
Yeah, seriously. No, yeah, like, and it's like you look at like all these other guys like Tim the Tatman and like friggin' like Nick Merckx, like they've created a company out of them. Like they're
Yeah.
just them as a person and their brand. They have their own guys that they found that were mods that did all this stuff. And like it's just it's a completely different level. And getting there, like you said, the grind of it is crazy. And that growth side.
But
And
they also started where you are.
yeah, for
So I
sure.
mean, they didn't start at a large level. They started basically in the same position, and they made contacts and they streamed, and it took off at a certain point.
Hmm.
Um, Even like Dr. Disrespect, who probably has the most quality production out of all the streamers. Um, he started, I mean, he was designing maps for Advanced Warfare and stuff like that. And I think he had the Dr. Disrespect character, and there was a couple of YouTube videos. And it's murky, but I'm pretty sure that somebody came to him and was like, I want to throw some money behind that character.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and but at the same point, that dude has an entire production around what he does.
yeah,
And but every single one of those people, even Ninja, started from nowhere.
yeah,
Ninja started competitive Halo, and he streamed that, and then it's those small decisions that you can make where you take a chance that pays off.
yeah.
His community was talking about this Fortnite thing while he was playing PUBG.
Hmm. Hmm.
He was like, let me try it. And he really enjoyed the game. I think that's what the key also. Your audience is always, and this goes for any streamer, your audience can see through the bullshit. Like if you're faking it, they know it's transparent, it's
Yeah,
see-through. And he really legitimately enjoyed and enjoys Fortnite. And it took off. And then that one night with Drake, which was my birthday, so they're welcome. Um, that one night, when everything just changed, the whole landscape of streaming changed that one night, because all of a sudden you had these hundreds and hundreds of thousands, and people, when they hear that I just said that, they're gonna be like, that's horseshit. It's true, because I can tell you the day before that, I didn't have a lot of brands calling. The day after that, I had a lot of fucking brands calling me,
yeah.
going, so this Twitch thing. And I'm like, oh, you
Now
must
you're
have seen the
interested.
stream.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, now you get it.
yeah.
And it's like those small things. But had he not decided, oh, let me go check out this Fortnite thing that my audience is talking about,
Hmm.
and then now it seems like he has a really big passion for Valorant.
Yeah, huge right now.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and like I think he was just, I don't know if he was like coaching 100 Thieves or something along, but like he's making those decisions. It could go one way or another. He made the decision to go to Mixer, and the assumption was, hey, this audience is going to
Gonna
travel,
follow. Yeah.
right? And when he left Twitch, I think he was averaging 35 to 40,000 concurrent viewers.
Hmm.
If you look at the Mixer numbers, he was averaging around like 6,000.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So
Yeah.
it was, and it's not a knock on him. It was just, it's discoverability
Hmm.
and what that means. So it's kind of just wild to kind of see those small decisions, and it might be decisions that you make that take you down the same road.
Right. Right.
So it comes down to those things with, you make the educated decision that you can with the information that you have at the time,
Yeah.
and you have to take that leap. And I look at taking the different chances or opportunities that I took. I worked at a restaurant and a pizzeria for a better part of a decade, right? And 2011-ish, I like looked at my wife and I was like, I'm just gonna quit. Like, I don't have anything, but I also don't have the time. You kind of get locked into a bubble where you're
Hmm.
like, I don't have the time to go look for anything because I'm working so much.
Hmm. Hmm.
And like my wife was like, all right, go for it. So I quit without having anything, and I took a really long nap. And then within a month, I went to work for Sprint. and I went to work in one of their call centers because like my friend found me like that gig.
Right.
And you know, I love learning about people and talking to people. So my call time was horrible, but everybody got their shit fixed. And then they knew that I was very much into the gaming world and doing all these different things, and I was on social media, and they were building up their social media care team. And they were like, do you want to try this? And I was like, yeah. And we built out their entire customer care team,
Right.
their entire
Right.
social media customer care team. But that experience led to the 505 job
505,
because
right?
I could be
Yeah.
like, I have talked for a brand on social media, and which led to everything going down here. So what if I had decided, fuck it, I really like pepperoni, I'm going to stay here.
Right.
It's just you have to make those leaps.
Right.
I mean, I would encourage anybody, like, don't be scared to do it. I would always encourage people to start a podcast because there's so much freedom in that.
Yeah.
If you're on Twitch, you're on Twitch, right? But at the end of the day, that platform is going to make the decision for you,
Right.
almost.
Right.
Where
No, yeah.
if you say what you want all the time, you might trip up. You know, somebody that you have on might say something stupid,
Right.
and they're going to decide. When it comes to podcasting, it's yours. You do whatever the hell you want. Like, you could put the video up on YouTube if you want, but you know, like, otherwise, nobody's really going to stop you. That's one of the biggest ones for me, and that's why I'm like looking at podcasting microphones and stuff like that. I was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
looking at different kits yesterday, like hitting up friends like, if you heard of this Shure microphone, and they're like, get that one, and then like
Yep.
another one's get this one. I was
Listen,
like,
man, that's
you
what
know,
I did. That's what I've been doing too. Like even with my setup now and like going through OBS, like the audio you're hearing is obviously going to be completely different than what's recording, right? So like I've had people that I literally met playing Valorant or whatever, and they're like, you need to do this, this, and this to set this up right. Like my stream, my OBS, like the podcast stuff would be in absolute like it would sound like we're in a friggin' shot like Turkish bathhouse, just like echoing everywhere. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
but like you're saying, like it's those connections that you meet, and like the long term stuff that I've like friends I've made online are crazy. Like, I mean, we didn't even do an intro for this. Like, this is I can send this to you if you want this to be your first podcast episode. You can have it, man. You've been running everything. I've been sitting here letting you talk and do your thing. You know, like
no. It's wild because and I'm the same way where some of the closest friends that I have,
yeah,
I met through Twitter. I met through this whole journey. You know, our director of marketing at Power Spike, Reed, he used to run the social media for E3.
oh wow,
And
okay. Was he
I
the
met him
gentleman that you had
E3
at the panel in PAX?
Yes.
With the long hair, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And you know, after he left E3, he was kind of like burned out on games, and he was like, I don't know if I want to work there anymore. And then like I turned to him, I was like, I have a director of marketing job. Would you like to come back to the game world? And even like our vice president of ops, Christina, is aka Kitty Houseknife. She's partner Twitch streamer. Like,
Oh wow. Okay.
and all these people I just met through Twitter. And
Yeah.
like, I would come to them and be like, do you want to work with me? I'm like, you know, it
You know,
seems like
but-
you have a talent.
Yeah.
You know? And she said that she sent you a question through Instagram.
She did. I have that for you. Yeah. I
so
was
yeah,
going to try
she's-
to keep it anonymous, but
She's
now you
my
know.
favorite coworker. I have
There you
to
go.
say
There's
it,
the answer.
or
That was
she'll
the
fuck
question,
me
by
up.
the way.
Yeah.
Or she'll come after you.
Yeah, she was like, because I when I shared the thing on my story, she DM'd me. She goes, I asked him who your favorite coworker is. Choose wisely. And I was like, all right.
Choose
all right,
wisely. That's how you knew. It was the little extra, you know.
Yeah, man.
But let's.
And I dug that. Did they have any questions? Did people
There was a couple.
interested
Yeah, there was a
in
couple.
my thoughts on fucking Olympia?
Oh yeah, well we're gonna get there too. It was crazy, right? Like, so I'm gonna tell you this and being completely transparent, right? I've interviewed top 10 throwers in the world, right? I've interviewed people that are at the top of their field in like physical therapy and strength and conditioning, like people that like I should be nervous around. You should have seen me last night. Like I was streaming until like 2 a.m. last night because I was so nervous that I couldn't sleep. So I was just repping games. I was just getting in Cold War. Like I don't know why, but then like we get into this and like it's just like we're having a conversation and we're going. Like I wanted it to be organic and it just ended up being that way anyways, you know. But But yeah, I mean, some of the questions, they kind of mix in a little bit with some of the social media stuff that I was going to ask you anyway. So let's just kind of go there.
Yeah.
Best practices for social media growth, you know, and like, do those also apply towards like streaming in YouTube, you know, because obviously cross promotion is very important. And this is something that
Yeah.
even for myself, like, I'm trying to learn how to do myself. And like, you do always the Googles, like, what are the best time to post and like all that stuff, right? But
Yeah.
it's a very different game, and social media has changed. I mean, not to date ourselves, right? But like, social media even from the 90s to early 2000s to now, like, everything is so different.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's
Listen,
crazy.
I had glitter gifs on MySpace, and I was on Twitter when you had to type RT at, like, you were just copying and pasting somebody else's thing for retweeting.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to talk shit to somebody, you put a period in front of their name. You know, you didn't like quote tweet them and all that shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. I mean, some practices stay the same. Some practices like stay the same, where it's there's always that trending topic kind of thing, and jumping on hashtags is really good. Like, you don't have to jump on everyone. There's somebody I know who has gone to a few of the panels at PAX East, who I now have blocked, who has many hundreds of thousands of followers, who used the tactics that we said in on the panels to gain these hundreds of thousands of followers, and now we all hate him. But it's like, it was seeing our stuff in action was cool, but then I was like, oh wait, no, this is really bad, because he's like controversial. But jumping on hashtags, knowing what's going around, and like taking the temperature of the room, because like a lot of times you might want to say something snarky. You might want to say something stupid, but like, do you really need to? Like, if at any point you find yourself backspacing and trying to reword a message to make it sound funnier, delete that shit. Don't send it. There's no reason to. Nobody's going to like it, and you're going to feel bad about it later. It's not worth it. But, you know, following relevant people, starting conversations with people. A lot of people just don't start conversations. Like, they'll just retweet somebody or favorite somebody's thing and be like, well, they'll probably, you know, notice me, or they're not. Start a conversation, say something relevant.
Yeah.
You know, people want to have those conversations. Some people might find you annoying and they're not going to respond, or if they do respond, eventually, like, they're a prick about it, move on. There's billions of people in the world. Like, don't worry about it. Like, there's some people that I still remember by name that like had, like, when I was like really like kind of like a baby in social media, like, they eventually responded and they were like, what are you talking about? I was like, starting conversation. They were like, I'm good, thanks. And I'll never forget that, I'm good, thanks. And then when I surpassed them and they tried to talk to me, I was like, no,
I'm good, thanks.
So, so be bitter, hold grudges. No, I'm kidding. But like, especially with like, if you're taking your stream and you're kind of trying to bring that over to different mediums, one, you could always just park your full VOD on YouTube. It can't hurt. Content is always content. You can always have it there. Make sure you don't get DMCA'd, because that seems really popular right now.
Twitch is changing their TOS all the time.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We're actually talking to different recording companies about like, hey, like, can people use your music? Like, please, because it just makes a difference now. If you're on Twitter, break up your best clips, and like, your community a lot of times are going to make those clips for you. Share them. Just share them on Twitter. Your community a lot of times is going to make the best content for your brand, and it is free. It is free. Retweet it, share it. You're engaging with your community, and they're making really, really good content. And it can grow you exponentially as you're doing stuff. If you look at somebody like Nega Oryx, who's fantastic, she was a good sized streamer. And then there was that Last of Us clip where she was like crying over a scene that she had just seen, and then the rabbit comes out of the hole, and she was like, she was still like emotional, and she was like, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And right as she said life, an arrow went through the bunny. And she lets out this yelp, and it was shared millions of times across Twitter. It was
Yeah.
perfect. But that's organic. She didn't have to put any production into that other than being there and being in the moment. And her audience clipped it, and it got shared like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So just share all those things out. Just like use everything that you're making, because you're spending your time making it. Do it. It's easy that way. It's a lot easier, and your community is going to help you do it because they believe in you. And that's if you have a community of fucking 3 people or 300,000 people, they believe in you.
Right.
So, and treat them in kind also,
Right.
because those 3 people will still be there at 300,000 if you treat them well.
Right. Right. And now, so the multiple channel thing, this is something that somebody asked too, because I mean, even in my situation also, right? So this kind of pulls over a little bit, right? Weebs and weights, right? I'm trying to do something how, I'm trying to say like you can be healthier. You don't have to do what I do. You don't have to snatch and clean and jerk. You don't have to try to be as strong as you want and stuff like that. But like physical and mental health are very important, especially, I mean, we've seen even over the pandemic, we've had a couple of streamers and content creators that unfortunately are gone now.
Yeah.
Because of the stress of everything. And you could say it was the pandemic, you can say whatever it was, but like it all adds up, right? And like maybe if they had somebody to talk to, just an opportunity to just reach out to one person, or felt a little bit more comfortable, like that's the idea of Weebs and Weights. But I'm also trying to grow like the Orphe brand and stuff like that. And I think this person's idea is like, I'm nervous to have multiple channels. Mm-hmm. Is it worth splitting it up, or is it worth having it as one thing, right? So thank you, whoever asked that question. But
if they are in the same field, mm-hmm. in general, if it's health and wellness, you don't need to break it up. You just need to expand and maybe do something different to hit one part versus another part. Because like some people might be very, very much into the gym streams, mm-hmm. and that content. Some other people might be very into the wellness content, and that translates very well over to Instagram more than anything. And you can find those people on Twitch and move them to Instagram. But I wouldn't break up things. If there's totally separate categories, mm-hmm. sure, I would break them up, because you're not going to find the same audience.
Right.
But also look at the resources within the industry that can help boost those things, and that you might want to be a part of, to have your community be a part of.
Right.
Something that I have a second job. I work with Take This, which is in the game industry. If you've ever been to a PAX, there's an AFK room where it's staffed by clinical psychologists. If the show floor is getting to be too much for you, if it's, if you need to talk to somebody, that is a quiet room, mm-hmm. with people that's staffed. And they also do a number of different initiatives and trainings for inside of game companies and just for streamers.
Right.
That is a kind of thing where, do I want to connect with them, because that is the mental wellness of it.
Right.
And then look at other companies that might not be in the space, and then you offer something to them. Something that I use every night is Calm, the app Calm.
Okay.
It is, they'll have like the daily meditation stuff to it, but at night they have these sleep stories that will put me out like that. Mm-hmm. It's like just ridiculous how easily they put me out. One of them is Matthew McConaughey, and
that's self-explanatory. Yeah, that's self-explanatory. Right,
yeah. It's I know the story almost. Like I know that I have the story memorized up until the point where I fall asleep every night. So but they have like different people, like Mandy Moore will read a story, Idris Elba. They have like all these different people in there. So reach out to that company. The worst thing that they can say is no, and then you're right where you are.
Right.
It doesn't hurt. So the short answer is, if you're in the same ballpark with those two passions, just keep them as one, merge them. If one of them is mental health and wellness and one of them is guns, no. Like
Yeah,
split
fair.
them up.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Okay. So the Olympia thing, we've got some like question marks involved. We have like, how does that even happen? Like, what? Why? Like, just maybe a little
Well,
background
in
there.
terms of in terms of like my fascination with it,
Yeah, yeah.
I grew up a very large WWE fan. I still am. I'm going to call it the WWF because I care about history.
Before the change.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I was always like fascinated with these dudes that were larger than life. And then as social media rolled out more, um, I started looking at specifically like, I always look at Arnold, right? And Arnold. But then I saw this huge dude screaming, "Yeah, buddy," and lightweight. And this is like when I was like, I would go to Powerhouse, that's was like 5 blocks from me, like every night after I got off at the firehouse because I was preparing to be a cop or a firefighter. So I was
Right.
like, you gotta get into it. So I'd be at Powerhouse, but I'd know, and there were dudes that were just juiced up there. But I always looked at Ronnie Coleman, and I saw Ronnie Coleman just win this over and over and over again. And the crazy thing about it was that Ronnie Coleman was still a cop for however long,
Yeah.
like while he was winning in Olympia. And then I went to a bachelor party in Vegas. As all good stories start. I went to a bachelor party in Vegas, and it just so happened that it was Olympia weekend, 2010. Had no idea at all. And a friend of mine who was also jacked, who's Army, um, I was like, "Yo, the Olympia Expo is here." He was like, "Let's go." So we went, and it's wild to me. Like if you think about like PAX, like you're not walking around. Like
Yeah.
you can barely move.
Yeah.
Um, Lines out the door to meet everybody. We're walking through this thing and just walking right past and just saying hello to Jimmy Superfly Snuka, who's just there talking to him for
Chilling,
five
dude.
minutes,
Yeah.
like you're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we bought tickets at the door. Like it wasn't crazy packed. And within the 10 years from then till now, the fitness industry has totally changed with how it markets
Oh yeah.
itself, what it is.
Crazy.
And so, I mean, you get it packed now, but I think that Olympia is still overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that weekend we met Jimmy Snuka, Lou Ferrigno, Kurt Angle, Vitor Belfort. It was
Wow.
wild.
Yeah.
And I think 1 year removed from Ronnie. It was Jay Cutler was on his run.
Yeah.
And then they shifted into Phil Heath. And I very into the idea of this competition between Phil and Kai Green.
Dude, Kai is a
Yeah.
nutcase. I love that guy.
If you look at Kai, it's like the shitty thing is that we're never gonna know because they had that 1 year where they were competing at Olympia, and then and I think that a lot of people knew that it was probably Kai's to win. But I think that there were other factors at play there. The image of Olympia won out as to who the victor should have been.
Yeah.
And then Phil went on his run, and I think that they found a great representative. I love Phil. He's a great representative for Olympia for everything. And now he's going for this 8th one this year, and I think that it's a safe bet that he'll get it right. I think that his main competition, I guess, 2 years ago was Big Ramy, and they were both. I don't think that they were both in a position that they should have been. I think that they both got to the point where they were injured. You know what I mean? Like they weren't.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good thing. And Phil was so injured he didn't even compete last year. And you look at it now, I think Haney just got his visa, so he's here, and that's probably the biggest competition that you have.
Mhm.
Well, I cannot see them giving it to anyone other than Phil. If Phil comes in shape, which it looks like he is,
Yeah.
the marketing is behind it. There's a documentary being filmed behind it
Yeah.
that is backed by $7 production. And I love Danny Garcia. I love what she's done and The Rock has done for the whole sport, because it doesn't get the respect that it gets. Because part of it is because if you look at physique versus Olympia,
Hmm.
physique is where Arnold was when he was winning Olympias. And it goes all the way back to Ronnie, because Ronnie got so fucking big that everyone had to get bigger to compete with Ronnie.
Yeah.
And now you have basically fucking kids' toys that are walking out onto that stage,
Yeah.
and now I don't know if there's ever going to be a course correction for it. I think that for it to become mainstream, there needs to be some form of course correction.
Mm.
I was just looking at it this morning too. I feel like, dude, they should just do this thing live on YouTube and take advantage of that global audience. They're charging $59.95 for a pay-per-view that's like all access.
Yeah.
And then if you just want to see the Olympia competition, it's $29.95. It's like, why are you doing this pay-per-view? And I understand where we are right now. We're in the middle of a pandemic. They had to bump it from September to December. They had a spot in Vegas, and now they had to bump it to, I think it's in Orlando.
Yep. Down Florida.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of different factors at play, and it costs a lot of fucking money when all those factors at play. But for the image of the brand to move forward,
Yeah.
I think that, one, there's a lot riding on Phil getting his 8th. Does that mean that Phil comes back next year to try and get his 9th and to try and beat out Ronnie and Lee? There's a lot of things there, and I was almost pissed at Kai. Like 3 weeks ago, Kai put up this fucking picture where he's just shredded, and he was like, "Big announcement tomorrow at noon," and I was like, "It's gonna fucking happen. It's gonna happen." Phil's going for his 8th. They're filming this documentary, and fucking Kai's gonna come in.
Yeah.
And he's gonna do this. And he announced that he signed with Redcon the next day, and I'm like, dude, what the? Like, I was like, come on, like, what are we doing? Like, you were supposed
This
to
close.
say I'm doing
this. Yeah.
Yeah. But Kai's focus has been on the Arnold and building up the Arnold, and the Arnold is almost getting to be a suitable replacement for Olympia.
It might end up just, maybe they should work together a little bit, and they could run the bodybuilding thing.
I don't think that they'd wind up doing it, because Olympia is so old-fashioned that they probably view the Arnold as like, he owes us. And he shouldn't be doing that. But Arnold has also turned it into world-class competitions where you don't get a lot of that. That's at least publicized from the Olympia Expo. When I was there, it's wild. When I was there, there was like, it was like almost like a small like wooden fence. And they had blue mats rolled out, and it looked like they were doing like a BJJ competition. And I was like, why isn't anybody talking about this? Like, they're doing mixed martial arts in the middle of the fucking Olympia Expo.
Yeah.
But you have like one of those like shitty t-shirt resellers behind them. Like, what are we doing? Like, why isn't this being publicized? And I think that they have, whoever's running it, I have no idea who the fuck's running, but they have a very singular focus on, this is Americana and a slice of Americana, and we're going to present this bodybuilding competition, and people are going to love it. And it's like, you are in the past.
Yeah.
You don't understand where a lot of those things have gone. And if you've seen like the Generation Iron documentaries, which I enjoy, I think that they need a different narrator. Like, I think that, get Michael Rappaport, like have him, he's good at narrating shit. Get him. But you could see the evolution of where it is, and all of that evolution is taking place outside of Olympia.
Yeah. Yeah.
The social media buzz for it. I've seen Olympia this year is really trying to push merchandise. I keep getting the emails. Those emails, those marketing emails are laid out like fucking GeoCity emails. Like it's a thing where I don't know whether it's the resources or what it is behind it, but they have to move forward. And I'm hoping that Danny and $7 being involved in some sort of way
Mm-hmm.
helps to push that forward. But at the same point, Danny and The Rock announced, I forgot the name of it, but they're doing a convention, a fitness convention in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
It was
I
supposed
think
to
I heard
kick
about
off
this.
year.
Yeah.
I feel like it's Athleticon or something like that. But immediately I was like, okay, right there. And the trajectory for me right there was they're going to make that absolutely huge, because anything The Rock does, one, doesn't do it half-assed. Two, it becomes huge. I think that they're going to make that so huge that Olympia can't deny it, and they're going to come in and buy Olympia. Because if you look at it, Olympia has generally been owned by magazine companies
Mm-hmm.
to sell these different things. One, magazine readership to the tank. Everything is digital, everything is online. So I think that that's where you're going to get. And then maybe you have a competition with Arnold where Arnold's like, no, I want to buy Olympia. And then we have a fun little thing between Arnold and The Rock. But as it looks to me now, one, I think Phil walks away with it. I would love to see somebody else come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But I think and I'm not saying it's rigged, but I'm pretty sure Phil's going to win this thing. So
there's just not much there to like. I mean, unless, like you said, unless somebody literally comes out of the friggin' forest and is like, "I am here," like it's not gonna, you know.
And it's not going to be. I think that everybody is always looking at Raimi because he's so huge, but it's not going to be him because he's too huge.
Yeah.
So you don't have the definition that those judges are going to want to see. Believe me, you have a lot more definition than I have on my body, but there's just not going to be there's not going to be anywhere there. If Phil comes in shape, even if he has a bubble gut, like everybody always gets pissed off about, and they're like, look at that. I'm like, saying that from your couch with some Doritos, my friend.
Yeah.
Like, even if it happens, I think he walks away with it. And my fascination with it is, these guys, what they're doing is, one, otherworldly. Two, I really hope at some point I'm able to get more involved with that in terms of shaping how that looks in a digital world. One, in a safe way, because some of the biggest influencers in the fitness, they're dead, or they're just not necessarily promoting healthy products,
right?
Because it's their products. There's, how fast and loose we get with supplements in this country is not necessarily a good thing, and
but everyone relies on them too. That's the issue too, right? And like, and that was a big part of why I wanted to start this too. Is like, when I started, right, I was so I wanted to play lacrosse in college, and I didn't know how to train, right? So I started off with P90X, right, and I lost like 100 pounds my sophomore year into my junior year of high school, right? I was like almost 300 pounds. I got down to like 2 something, right? And like I was looking at social media, and social media was only like, oh, do 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 5s, like just like bodybuilding style volume, go, right? And for sports performance, you don't do that, right? You don't do that for sports performance. Like you don't give a fuck how you look. It's how you perform, right? So it's very like something I try to say to people is like, we're trying to find the maximal give back for the minimal amount of work, right? Mm-hmm. So, and you just like, I was sprinting one day, tore my hamstring, right? There goes that D1 scholarship I had. There goes all the D2s that were looking at me. There's the D3, right? So then I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing something wrong. Let me go to school. Went to school for physics. And then I started working with the strength and conditioning department because they had just kind of started with like basketball, because we just went D1. And so bang, and that's where it started, right? But like, this is like the things I learned from that, and the misinformation I had caused me to have issues. And now people are like, oh, my joints hurt, let me go have some omega-3s. And it's like, okay, well, why don't you look at, like, are you sitting all day? Can you actually do a body weight squat without your ankles tracking in and like your knees doing weird shit? Like, all of that matters. And like, giving something small to give back. And like, we saw what you were saying with like the growth of it, right? Like, they didn't do a good job of marketing whatever, right? But like, weightlifting, the sport that I do, if it wasn't for CrossFit, it would be still small and unheard of. But now CrossFit made weightlifting massive, and now we have like the AO series is slowly becoming one of the biggest competitions in the world, right? Like, all of these things, we have people coming from other countries to come and try to join in and like do it's just crazy. Like, what's one small thing that was like, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do it as well as we can, promotes it. You know, like, it's such a weird, like,
and making sure that it's like, a lot of people are going to look at, they're very, very raw. They're going to look at the person's body and what's in their hand, and they're going to go, I'm going to do that. Like, when I wake up, I take like all different types of fucking vitamins. I take like omega-3s. I take, vitamin D. I think I take like a 50,000 thing once a week. I made my doctor prescribe it to me because I suck remembering when to take pills. So I'm like, I have a vitamin D deficiency. She was like, it's mild. I was like, a prescription. And like, but making sure that those things are safe. I think that a lot of people will look at a video of Ronnie Coleman squatting 800 solid ass pounds, and they'll hear the "yeah buddy" and all that stuff, and they'll go, all right, well, I'm gonna get those things. They should immediately be shown the Ronnie Coleman documentary where he is walking into his gym assisted by crutches, because Ronnie has had, I want to say, 8 back surgeries.
Maybe more.
I think one for every Sandow. So like, you have to remember that, one, your frame is your frame. Your frame is designed to hold a certain amount of weight. You have to be very careful with how that is. People always assume that that's with, oh, if you're fat, you're holding too much weight. It can be muscle too. Like, there's a reason that like people go, oh, it's so stupid. John Cena they said that he was obese. I'm like, well, scientifically, he is.
Yeah, by BMI, which is by anyone watching, by the way. I think we've talked about this a million times. Do not go by BMI, especially if you're an athlete or in any way capacity, because I've gone to my doctor a million times and they're like, oh, you should be at like 160. And I looked at them, I'm like, I've been at like 3% body fat before and I was 185. There's no way I'm getting to 160. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, so
it's like, you have to track everything very, very carefully and very healthily, but also look at the examples, and it's wild because I can't even remember his name off the top of my head, which just shows you how the influencer life works. There was one person who I'm for the only thing that's popping in my head right now was 5%. He's in one of the Generation Iron documentaries. His brand was the 5%, and he was huge, and everybody looked up to him, and he died. He's like, I know what I'm doing, and I'm doing it. Let me see if I could pull his name. The 5% Nation. What the hell's his name? 5%er. 5%er. Who's that guy? 5%er guy. Let me Google it like that. Okay, that's definitely not what I'm looking for. Okay, you can totally look it up, and I might be totally wrong with 5%er, but if you just Google supplement influencer dead, he's probably going to pop up. He was one of the largest people who was building one of the largest brands. He had some of the largest muscles, never competed in an Olympia, like never, all the things that you're looking at from a competitive standpoint was not a part of that. But all these people that are rushing into a gym to be that person. He's dead. So let's look at the truth of what is actually healthy to do, what is relevant to do. Like,
Hmm.
listen, you can change your diet. A lot of times, I'm very, very old school. Like, when I'm dieting, I'm like chicken and rice because I know it and I'm dumb. And it's easy for me to just go, I made a bunch of chicken and rice and
But
I lay them out, and it's easy that way.
but that being said, right, when it comes to like, I hate using the word diet, right? But like when it comes to like making a change for your healthier lifestyle, let's just go with that one, like everybody loves, because social media loves that phrase, right?
Okay.
Like trying to be healthier and making things really complicated makes it really, really hard to do, right? So like you look at
Yes.
like RP strength, right, and they give you, this is the amount of protein you're gonna eat for this meal, this is the amount of carbs, this is the amount of fats, this is the amount of whatever, right? If you're sitting there like, okay, well, I got broccoli and I got chicken, but I also have this 90% lean beef, and then I have, like these potatoes. It's like, okay, well, calm down for a second. Now you're adding too much into one thing, right? Like
Yep.
the reason chicken and rice
All of a
was
sudden,
doing
you're
it,
making like chili con bullshit.
right? But then all of a
Like,
sudden, it's really hard to hit those macros too. And if you're starting to lose weight and you're starting to do anything like that, do not go to macros. Like make it very, very simple. Like the calories in, calories out thing. We'll talk about that with somebody else that we're getting on eventually. But like the chicken and rice is so, the reason they do it is because it's like, I know what it is, I'm hitting the numbers perfectly,
yep.
and I don't have to think about it. It's just that, and
Yeah.
it's shaving off the
1000%.
fat, right? As everyone says, like you're shaving off the excess stressors that could add more bullshit to your day that you don't have to worry about. It's like, okay, I grilled up some chicken and rice and I marinated in fucking olive oil and lemon juice, and here's a cup of rice
The
done.
main way that I ran. Like when this pandemic started, the first thing that I did was go, I need tequila and I need edibles because that's the only way I'm getting through this fucking thing.
Love it.
But before I knew it, like the daily things that you do burn a lot of calories. Running to take my daughter to school burned calories. I wasn't doing that anymore. All of a sudden, I'm burning half the calories that I normally would because I'm not going outside. And then you're supplementing that with tequila and snacks and all that stuff. I went from like 280 to 320, like that. And then when I was like, finally, I was like, wow, that staircase was really difficult. I was like, okay, this shit's got to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Costco and they have, I think it's Simple Foods or something like that. There's packets. They're like 90 calories each. It's brown rice and quinoa.
Mm-hmm.
You literally just open it a little bit. You put it in the microwave for 90 seconds. The 90 is not calories, it's seconds. See, I'm remembering the numbers. You put it in for 90 seconds. I grilled up chicken. I had a huge bag of vegetables, and I just literally, it's just diet planning was pulling out as much Tupperware as possible. It was like 8 ounces of chicken, this, that, and that's it. That's it. And then in the morning, it's like you're gonna do egg whites, some spinach, and just chill. And you're gonna do coffee and water only. And I went from the 320 back to the 280 in like a month because I started walking more. I started doing all these things. But you cut out the bullshit.
Yeah.
So if it's simpler for you, like I would always tell people, just do the most simple thing possible. Like my goal overall is to get to 189, and 189 seems like the weirdest fucking number in the world, but that's what I was when I wrestled freshman year in high school.
Okay.
So I very simply, I'm like chicken, rice, workout, 189. I'm done. And I got a Peloton. So
Okay. Yeah. Well,
but the wild thing is getting the Peloton. You get the Peloton, and you're reading through the thing. And I looked at it, and I was like, oh, you're too fat to get on the Peloton. I had to diet to be able to get to Peloton weight. So it's like they have like the max capacity load.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
and you're looking in a mirror and you're like, you fat bitch, like come on. So like all those things, like I've yo-yoed with weight so much that I constantly, the way for me to do it simple because I know that it's healthy. I don't have to think too much, and I can eat whatever the hell I want. Whereas like my wife has like the heart problem. Her diet is very specific.
Yeah.
where it's like ounces and macros and all those things. And I can't wrap my head around it because she's like, you know, you need to put like half a cup of egg whites and like this. And I'm like, what, why can I just make you eggs?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Can I just scramble up 2 eggs?
Yeah.
But that's the wild thing of where kind of the area that I exist.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you have kids that puts on weight immediately because all of a sudden you're like the crust of the peanut butter and jelly, like that's lunch, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, I don't want to waste that.
Yeah.
And like you become the garbage disposal for your children. So weighing all those things is the same. And then, you know, like I said, I look at guys like Ronnie Coleman and that as like this mecca of crazy body where I don't want to be that big, but I would love to have that definition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so how do I get there? And what resources do I have?
Right.
And that's why when I go to a gym, it's very, very simple. It's, you know, you're doing lat pull downs, you're doing this, you're doing that. Like,
but I
run with machines.
That's what you should be doing, though. Like,
yeah.
I mean, maybe not the machine things. This is the sports. This is like the strength and conditioning sports side of me being like, the machines are good for one thing, but again, like general fitness. And I want to have this conversation with somebody. I want to get somebody that's like top tier personal trainer, right? Because the difference between like fitness, training, competitive, general fitness, like I think all of those are very, very different in my personal opinion.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, like you said, like you look at the competitive side of stuff and you look at like, okay, he was a police officer and he's winning Olympias. Like that combination is absurd. And the amount of work it's put in for that is completely different.
Walking up to your house.
Yeah.
Like
imagine getting arrested by that guy. Excuse me.
Like, Jesus, like
here's my money.
Nobody's resisting.
No, not at all. And if you are, you're done. You know?
That's a thing. Like I would sometimes get into, all right, I'm not going to use machines. I'm going to go for dumbbells. The last time I did it, I don't know why I did this stupidest fucking thing I've ever done in my life. Incline bench. And I just go, all right. And I just lay down with 200-pound dumbbells. I'm like, I'm going to do presses. I don't know why I did this. Not my capacity at all. I don't know what the fuck is happening. And I got like 3/4 of the way up and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, it's so stupid. I felt my arms just fucking dropping. I was like, I just dropped them and like, I was like, I'm never touching these things again. Like, but like,
it's not gonna happen. Like, keep it simple and stupid, right? Like when I like went through my certification and stuff like that, like that was one of the biggest things they were saying. Like even when it comes to, because like college athletes, if you're listening, this is not an offense, but most of your strength and conditioning coaches, we see you guys and like half of you are there for education and this, and we're like, how are you guys like this stupid sometimes? Like this is very simple, it's very whatever, and like it's still too complicated sometimes. Like for us, simple might be something different, right? But like going in and being very smart of like, I'm gonna push, I'm gonna press, I'm gonna hinge, I'm gonna squat, I'm gonna carry, and keeping those very simple things, especially at the beginning, to like rebuild up. And like the whole like add 5 pounds thing every week, see how that goes for a little bit, right? And then take time after every 4 or 6 weeks, go back for a little bit, let yourself recover, choose the next exercises for the next cycle, and then go back up, right? Like that constant just rotation, you know. But
and
yeah, man,
that's the thing, is that so much stuff can evolve, but so much stuff stays the same.
Mm-hmm.
Where like when I was, you know, I think when I was preparing to be, or trying to become a cop or a firefighter, when I was going to Powerhouse, it was, you know, you got to do 5 minutes of cardio to warm up, and then you fucking slam the weights.
Yeah.
You know, and then like after you're done slamming weights, do like another 5 minutes on the treadmill, cool down. Like it's just a whole other thing. And like you're adding weight and you're saying, okay, what's my upper limit? And I'm going to push past my upper limit and all those different things. We're 1000% not healthy at all.
Well, this is like, where we see like Ronnie with the surgeries and stuff, right? Like it worked for him.
1000%.
It worked really, really well, obviously, because he got where he is. But the guy's fucking walking into the gym to squat with crutches. Like he's gotten to that point now where he's done so much damage long term without having somebody to be able to look at you and be like, you're moving poorly because of this. So because like there's a big thing. Like, I don't know if you know who Mike Israetel is with like RP Strength and Charlie Jung.
Yeah.
So I'll send you their links so you can take a look at them. But so Dr. Mike, their biggest thing is like they started like a full range of motion, like full ROM gang kind of like thing, right? But you can get better stimulus and better muscle growth if you focus on movement and focus on full ranges of motion, right? Because you're getting the muscle to actually do exactly what it's supposed to do, right? So like if you had these guys that, and sure, all of us are going to have issues. We're human, right? Like 20 years, 28 years, 38 years of our lives of moving in a specific way, starting to get in shape, there's going to be some shit that we fucked up. It's nature of the beast, right? And like they've gotten so much growth and so much just out of them and their clients and stuff like that by stepping back and being like, we're going to retrain you how to move, and then we're going to push forward more and more, right? That's and just smart. Like instant, like, and like that's starting to happen with strength and conditioning too. Like you focus on better movement with certain movements and then what's going to apply directly to their sport. And then all of a sudden it's just like kids are like, oh coach, all my pain's gone. Oh coach, like I had cheerleaders when I was out at Purdue, right? And they were like, coach, I've never been able to stunt for so long and not get tired. And I'm like, well, because you're doing something that's like facilitating those movements for you. Like you're doing something that actually applies to what you need, right? And you look at gamers and streamers and guys like you who are like, a lot of the time we're in desks for a long period of time, right? Yep. Even now as a coach, like I'm doing a lot of online stuff, so I'm starting to slouch over more. My hips are getting tight, right? Like what you guys might need or what we might need might not be like, oh, this movement needs to be better, but a focus on, okay, I'm going to focus on doing certain movements that are going to focus on getting my posture better and opening up my hips in certain ways, that my lower back gets out. Let me do more glute work. Like, and I could rant on this for another 2 hours. You know what I mean? But
because you need to, because I mean, legitimately, like I've been, so bound to desks or like really couches because it's like working from home. I'm just sitting on the couch. It's just easier. That like, when we were getting my basement done, I had to move a whole bunch of stuff. My hips were shot for days after moving stuff out. And it's like the one almost saving grace that I've always had is, it goes back to wrestling. I don't know if you've ever seen Diamond Dallas Page's yoga.
Yes,
DDP
I have.
yoga.
Yeah.
It's half yoga, half workout, or I would say 75% yoga, 25% workout. And the immediate effect on me is phenomenal. Like it will change how I feel, how I'm walking, how loose I am within a day. And I just immediately was like, okay, well, I have to do this to get through here. And I have like the old videos because I'm cheap as shit. And I bought it when he was calling it, I think YRG, it was like yoga for real guys. And I'm like, I have to put it in a DVD player. Like I'm so old. Like I should just buy the new shit, but I'm like, fuck that. No. I'm like, until I can buy it on like Apple TV, which he's still selling DVDs. Like DDP, if you're listening, fucking put it on Apple TV. Like, come on, dude. It's just so ridiculous. Like those things are ridiculously helpful. If you watch the one video of the guy that he had, who was a paratrooper, who was walking with braces because he messed up his knees, too many jumps, just got fat. His doctors was like, you're not walking unassisted ever again. And he went to all these people and they hung up on him. They were like, listen, I'm not going to be able to help you. And DDP was like, I got to figure out a way to help this guy. And the video goes through and this guy just trying, getting better and better and building and building and building. The end of the video, this dude's running. Yeah. He is flat out running and he's a trainer for them now. Like, and it's diet and changing kind of who you are. Because as somebody who's always been huskier, I know the feeling of going up and I know the feeling of coming down in weight. And I know that I always feel better when I'm coming down in weight. Like last night, I know that I had a little bit too much candy. And today I feel like fucking garbage. Like, so
part of that's balance too, right? Like being able to be like, you know what, like eating really well, like 85% of the time, let's just say, even 75% of the time, right? Eating as healthy as you can, and then being like, oh, I want fucking Five Guys today, and ordering five. Like, that's
Yeah.
okay, and being okay with that is big. We're into the weeby gamey stuff now, okay? Like, obviously, you've been in this career forever, right? Like, favorite
Yeah.
game, least favorite game. Are you into anime? Like, all of these things. Get at it.
Favorite game, campaign, the original Modern Warfare.
Okay.
Multiplayer, Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah. Okay. I understand that.
The most emotional moment I've had in a game, Gear 2. And spoiler, I mean, it's been out for a fucking decade. If you have a problem with it, fuck off. But when Dom finds his wife
Hmm.
and he immediately sees Maria for the beautiful woman that she is, and then it flashes to that reality of her being a fucking zombie, and him having to off her. I was playing the entire night. I was playing with a friend of mine. We were co-oping the campaign, and it was probably like 5 or 6 in the morning when we got to that. And I was like, bro, I need to take a walk. Still affects me to this day. And then we joked about it afterward, because you hear like the Boltok go off, and then I was like, it should have been a different weapon. Like, he should have used like the torque bow. Like, you hear it just cranking up, and then he just offs his weapon. And Marcus turns around like, what the fuck? Why'd you use that? But yeah, that was the main ones. Currently, I mainly play Warzone. I mainly played the Modern Warfare version. The Black Ops version, there's just little tweaks that I like Modern Warfare more.
Okay, interesting.
The pacing, the speed, the guns, I like it a little bit more. Anime, never got into it.
Okay.
Never kind of like, everybody was like Pokemon. I was like, I don't trust that thing. So, I mean, my main vices have been kind of shooters, cover-based shooters, and then pro wrestling has been kind of the big thing that I've held on to since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I still watch it. It sucks without crowds. It's fucking hard to watch without crowds. But so much so that I always wanted to try and get a job with WWE. I did an interview there. And being in their lobby, sitting in front of a statue of Andre the Giant, is just very, very intimidating.
I'm sure, yeah.
And you look across, and I think there was a statue of Warrior, and then also a statue of Roddy Piper. And I think now there's one of Flair, but the building, when I used to go to my cousins when I was a kid, we would have to drive past the building. I'd be like, Hulk Hogan lives there. So yeah, I mean, those have been like the main things. And then I'm a huge movie dude.
Okay.
It's kind of obscene. I think on iTunes I own like 400 movies.
Hell yeah. Okay.
And because they always have those $4.99 deals, and I'm like, I'll watch it 2 times. So the Ocean's 11 movies are probably the best ones that I've liked.
Yeah.
And then I'll get into kind of documentaries, go down different rabbit holes. Also comedians, stand-up comedy, Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan. Those dudes are absolutely fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I just finished watching on Showtime. They had a documentary about the Comedy Store in Hollywood. And just, I mean, the onset of that, like, that is the mecca of places where it's like you had everybody from Richard Pryor and Robin Williams going through there, Chappelle, Chris Rock, and this, that. I was really happy because last year I went to the Game Awards in LA, and I was so happy that I was able to go to the Comedy Store before all of this happened. And having that one night where, going there, and the lineup was like Ian Edwards, Mark Maron, Joe Rogan, Steve Byrne, Argus Hamilton. And like, you paid $10 to get in, and you got to buy 2 drinks. So you spend $30, but you'd spend $300 on tickets just to see those guys. And just that vibe, that the main room at the Comedy Store, insane. So, I mean, those are pretty much my vices. And then, when Olympia rolls around, like, I'll keep up with the bodybuilding world, but now as we get into Olympia week, seeing all the news, it sucks because there's just not a lot of reporting on it, and it's like you want it to be something that it's not. It's so weird. So
yeah,
lots of fun.
Oh man, cool. So I mean, time to plug your name, where people can find you, if anyone, you know, stuff like that. So
it's at Dan Hevia on Twitter. Don't be offended. I use a lot of memes and bad words. I also have Instagram at Dan Hevia. I lock all of these things, like all of these names down, because Instagram, there's another Dan Hevia in San Francisco, and he had the name for a while, and then he deleted his Instagram, and now I own it, bitch.
There it is.
Yeah. So those are the main ones, and then obviously at Power Spike is the company. If you're ever streaming, sign up. You could sign up with 0 viewers, and as you grow, we'll try to help you along as well. So that's those are the big parts of stuff.
Cool. Well, we didn't. I mean, we're gonna have to get you back on. There's so much to talk about. This went forever, you know. So. Well,
1000%. Whenever you want, I'll be there.
Hell yeah! All right, I got some other ideas for you too. So we'll maybe get you into anime a little bit or something for you. We'll figure it out.
Oh shit! If you have me in like a Crunchyroll hole, we're gonna have a problem.
Don't worry. Oh, don't worry. I got a plan for you. I already know exactly what I'm gonna show you. I already have it. So. Everybody,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Dan. Thank you so much for coming on, my man. Appreciate you.
Thanks, man.
All right,
we'll have to rip
some. Likewise. Yeah, for sure. We'll rip some Warzone soon, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know what the hell my name is on Activision. It's Hevia with a bunch of numbers.
We'll figure it out.
But maybe I'll pin it to my Twitter.
There we go. There you go.
All right, man.
All right, man. Appreciate you so much. Yeah, we'll talk soon. All right, be safe. Bye.